Well, hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. The hot topic of the last few months. Lengthened partials create massive growth. Man, 157% more hypertrophy, 57% more hypertrophy, whatever the quote is. I'm specifically pointing out that there's a lot more to be had, and I do agree with using lengthened partials or having more resistance in the lengthened portion of almost every exercise, almost. And the reason I say this is that it's proven itself, in bodybuilding for years. We have had exercises such as squats, such as bent over rows, chin-ups, bench press. We've had, what's another one I can give to you? Dumbbell overhead French presses for triceps. All of these exercises, okay, all of them involve in the stretch position a lot of resistance. In the near fully contracted position, fairly little resistance. The real deal is that when you're in those positions, let's just talk for a moment about how we have known intrinsically, intuitively, empirically in the gym. Squats have created bigger legs. Bench presses have created bigger chest, shoulders, and triceps. Well, bigger than what? Squats have created bigger legs than leg extensions. It's a fact. There's nobody going to argue that. The difference between squats and leg extensions. Squats have most of the resistance hitting the muscle bellies when you're in a full depth position. When you're standing up near the fully contracted position, that is where your knees are almost totally straight, there's hardly any resistance against the muscle. It's bone on bone at that point. The leg extension, on the other hand, is the opposite. In the fully contracted position, gravity hits, bam, those quads are getting hit very, very hard. As you go down into a stretch position, there's less, generally speaking, unless you're using a specialized machine which can increase the resistance in the stretch position. You're not even doing a full stretch. You're getting a 90-degree bend in your knee, mostly on those leg extensions. Squats go way deeper than that, beyond 90 degrees. Bench presses versus a cable crossover, okay, or a fly machine where you're pulling the cables together like this, or the machine handles together like that. All of the resistance peaks as the arms are coming closer together on a fly machine. In the bench press, that's barbell, dumbbell, incline, does not matter. In the bench press, all of the resistance is hitting as the muscle opens up and is in a stretch position. There it is. So we've known these were more productive, and yet the real explanation hasn't come up until recent years as to why. And it's that stretch position. It's very important. Now, I'm calling out the danger of lengthened partials. I don't want all of you out there who are listening to this, watching my channel, watching some of these videos, watching some very good, scientifically backed videos. I've mentioned a few of the channels that I follow personally. I do follow Renaissance Periodization, Dr. Mike Isertel. I follow Dr. Milo Wolf, Wolf Coaching. They're specialists at this point in lengthened partials, okay, doing exercises with emphasis on the stretch. Now, why am I calling out the danger of doing such a thing? There is a point where, and this is typical, I think, in the bodybuilding world, but people tend to go overboard. We have a little bit of an extreme personality in bodybuilding, and I think you have to. In order to be a champion in bodybuilding, you better be an extremist. I've taken bodybuilding to the extreme at various times in my life over the last 40 years, and at times push the envelope. And sometimes you get burned when you do such a thing. And the thing about those lengthened partials is this. While the science is proving out that a lot of resistance in the fully stretched position is important for maximum hypertrophy, I'm calling a red flag on, it didn't say create even more possible stretch than a maximum safe stretch. I don't remember anybody pulling up studies saying such things. Going into a hyper stretch, opening the joints up too much, all of that. For years, there have been very wise men and women involved in various forms of rehab, soft tissue work, physical therapy. I can think back to the late 80s and the 90s where the Soft Tissue Center in Los Angeles, California, and these guys were cutting edge, okay? These are the original neuromuscular re-education soft tissue specialists. There were 4 doctors originally who came together and they started it, and then they all kind of went their own ways, but the Soft Tissue Center in Los Angeles was really cutting its teeth still. And that one was run by Dr. Joe Horrigan, and it was still cutting its teeth on the edge of all the injuries that were coming in from Gold's Gym and from World's Gym in Venice. I was a member of both. I was one of those bodybuilders going in with some of these injuries, and they were kind of odd ones, and yet these guys would work at how do we heal such things with the specialized soft tissue work, and that was one great technique, and to this day, there are great soft tissue specialists out there. But they also made the point to me that a lot of these injuries were avoidable. And Dr. Joe Horrigan specifically wrote many articles in the old days, meaning the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Those were old days, 20 to 30 years ago, pointing out the dangers of certain exercises and the risk-reward being imbalanced. And on some of them, I can think of a few off the top of my head, dips, for example, going down deep into a dip motion, and hyper stretching, going too deep, would end up injuring people's shoulders. I mean, eventually it would catch up and it would cause a problem. So deep dips were dangerous. Presses behind the neck. You know, there's a major stretch on the shoulders back there, dropping that barbell down behind the neck. That would cause problems eventually. Doing lateral raises when the arm is all the way down at your side in a stretched position. The delt is in a stretched position, but carrying it across your body, as in a one-arm cable lateral, anything beyond here, your delt is stretched. Going beyond that involves other muscles in the upper back and the traps, and the neck. At that point, you are stressing muscles that don't belong being stressed. They don't pull from such a deep position without letting you know that they don't like it. And the delt doesn't get any more significant stretch beyond that point. So while single arm cable laterals are a great shoulder developer, and I do believe in using them for that resistance in the stretched position as opposed to the arms all the way up to the side, out to the side, as in a standard old school dumbbell lateral raise, that the resistance curve is a little bit, off on that. You could do without doing those entirely and you'd have great delts. Okay? What other exercise can I think of that was a major no? Dips, press behind the neck, those were shoulder. Doing pull downs or chin-ups or pull-ups in a hyper stretch position. That is, where you're dislocating your shoulder blades with a lot of resistance. That caused problems in all the bodybuilders' upper backs. You see, back in the 90s and the late 80s, there was a lot of emphasis on stretch position of training. And again, bodybuilders knew instinctively, intuitively, empirically in the gym that it brought better results. The problem is, being extremists, bodybuilders went too far with it and brought problems. Doing preacher curls over a preacher bench and going all the way down to the bottom. Near the bottom position right there. Cannot tell you how many bicep tendons have been torn from that position. These are dangerous techniques to use. Hyper-extending, overextending those joints under resistance, under load, is dangerous. The risk to benefit ratio gets skewed right off the map. Is there a problem with doing preacher curls? No, I love preacher curls. I think they're awesome, and you should do preacher curls. In the stretch position, where is the stretch position? Everybody learned, who's never torn their bicep, that you go all the way down, not all the way down with the elbows completely straight, but all the way down and a hair shy of hitting the bottom. Fractions away from hitting the bottom. Why? It keeps your bicep tendon in a good alignment so it can pull the forearm back up without damaging itself. So I'm calling a little bit of a red flag, 5-alarm fire alarm on getting carried away with hyperextended, stretch position, lengthened exercises, lengthened partials even. Okay, you don't want to go into too much of a stretch position. It's already been done back in the 80s and 90s by bodybuilders who really injured themselves. You don't have to prove that point all over again. Learn from their mistakes. If you want more information on all of that, you can search the old issues of Iron Man magazine, sports medicine articles written by Joe Horrigan of the Soft Tissue Center. And you'll find he wrote all of these things regarding exercises and the safest way to do them. Okay? Doing cross bench dumbbell pullovers or moon bench dumbbell pullovers when you're on a bench in a curved position. I do them. I like them. But Joe was the only one to ever point out how the bodybuilders did show up with all of a sudden hernias in the middle of their abdomen. And that was from them dropping their hips toward the floor and stretching in a full stretch position with their back in a big curve. It was tearing their abdominal muscles. And he knew better, and he was right. So for the sake of all of y'all out there that may be interested in preventing some injuries, unnecessary injuries, I don't want you to get injured. By all means, learn from some of the best scientific minds out there in the bodybuilding community. I do include Dr. Mike Israetel and Dr. Milo Wolf in there. I think they're great. However, don't get too carried away with overstretching. There's a price that you may have to pay, and you will be the one who pays that price, not them, not anyone out there telling you to go super, super, super deep into any movement. Just do your normal exercises, and on those ones that have a lot of resistance in the stretch position, of course, by all means, get into that stretch position, enjoy the stretch with that weight, work against it, use some weight on it, as usual, and then once in a while, do only partials in that position. It's great. They're great for you. So that's it for today. From my heart to you, John Hart. Hey, before you go, off to my left, you're going to see this disc pop up. That is the subscribe button for my channel. Please hit that thing before you go. And down below, off to your left, you're going to see a thumbs up button right there. Give this video a thumbs up if you're liking the videos that I'm doing. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that you're liking the videos and that they should play my channel some more. And I like it too. I'll see you soon.